sing that to me every single day. Every single day.
I know you've had to just endure through this song here.
Yes.
That's your theme song. That's your theme music.
I love it. I love it.
That is the, oh my, Candi CdeBaca. Councilwoman Candi CdeBaca. Oh, you've been up to so much.
Yes.
And you know what? The beautiful thing about it is you do it with and for community.
Yes. That's the only priority I have.
I've been watching all of the big battles that you've been handling. But you know, here's what, by the way, Candi CdeBaca is the councilwoman of Council District number 9.
All right now. Also known as the East Side.
The East Side. She's the East Side champion. So much we gotta just touch base on. We gotta keep track of. But here's, I gotta tell you this: when folks say one person in a leadership position can't make a difference, you have dispelled that myth.
I know that's right.
You have dispelled that myth. Like, and the reason I'm saying that is because I've seen people get in positions and they've been like the outlier of the status quo, and they say, well, I just got to play by the rules. Well, I can't do much. Well, I got to work it from the inside. Well, I got to go along to get along, or, you know, and all of that stuff. And you were like coming through the door like, let's look at this, let's open that. No, even if it's one vote, it's going to be one no. And folks looked and they said, well, wait a minute. She's got a point. And the next thing you know, things start changing, things start tumbling down. How's your experience been on council thus far?
You know, it started off like that. There were just so many people that were saying, well, you know, don't push the bounds too much at first. Just go with the flow before you decide to, you know, insert yourself into these spaces. And I know I'm on a time limit here. I've got 4 years. For me, that wasn't acceptable, and I'm used to being told no. That's the life I've been living. I'm used to being told no, so it didn't make me feel any different or more isolated to be the only no vote. And I thought that, you know, if I start out trying to go along to get along, what's going to be the trigger for me to go back to who I am? What's going to be the trigger to make me remember why I got into the fight? And I just didn't want to deal with it. So I just said, they elected me running as I am, running on the beliefs that I've always had, and I'm just going to go forward with those and see what happens. And it's been working. You know, I think a lot of people wanted permission. I think people want permission to be rational, to go harder, to push the bounds. And when one person does it, and then another person does it, and then another person does it, it just normalizes it. And I think it's becoming more normal.
It is becoming more normal, but the thing is, you are the epitome of fight the power. Public Enemy could be your theme song music too, easily. We better hit it with that trigger alert.
All right. This is a show that triggers people because you've entered a free think zone. If you're not willing to be exposed to other points of view, tune out now and don't read the comments. You've been warned. You
have been warned, Councilwoman Candi CdeBaca. Let's jump right into a couple of things. I want to ask you just straight off the top, what's going on with this easement discussion in this Park Hill golf course? And I believe it was an undersell. It was another one of those hookup land sales and all of this, and don't worry about the taxpayers' dollars that have been paid to keep it open space, because now that we've got our crew in, don't worry about that. We'll handle it. What's happening with Park Hill Golf Course?
I've been, skeptical about that since the beginning. My race was catalyzed by the fight against I-70's expansion, and that was very much connected to I-70, the whole stormwater drainage part of that. And that corner piece really set off a domino effect, because in order to use that stormwater drainage part of Park Hill Golf Course, that is what basically disturbed the easement, the conservation easement. Meanwhile, you had this simultaneous process going on led by Clayton, but not really led by Clayton, led by CRL, which was, one of those firms, those lobby firms that orchestrates, engineers, all of the things that happen in the city. And so they always play both sides. And when they were running that process, I knew something was up. I knew something was up. We got through the elections, and I didn't even recognize that the developer who had bought that land was part of the Loretto Heights campus until I started doing my investigation on the Loretto Heights campus after getting in. And when I saw they were connected, I knew something was up. I knew something was up.
Well, there's a big battle about what should go there, and they might have to take it before council. It has to come. It may have to come in front of you all again to say this is what we want to do. But the fight is saying that now at the state level, Governor Polis has signed some legislation even before that sale that would prevent them from being able to do what they want to do, even if they wanted to do it.
That's partially true. So they're supposed to, if they do anything with it, they're supposed to come to council, or they're supposed to go through a city process that's relatively new for a large development review. And I'm skeptical of that because it's a brand new process. We don't really know how it will play out. There's a couple of them happening. And so I'm keeping my eye on that, but it does have to come to council for a vote if they do rezone it. I am not 100% positive. My colleagues are all on the same page about what to do with it. And I personally, I feel like we should be protecting open space, but the easement is not for that right now. And so the golf course is going to be one of those conversations that's it's going to play out funny because golf courses are reserved for people who have money to play on them. And I can see that argument getting used in combination with the need for affordable housing. And
they're going to pit, here it is, the fight. They're going to pit one group against the other. Yeah,
and so they're going to make people who are concerned about affordable housing say, we need development. And then we're going to get people who are saying, no, it needs to stay a golf course. We need a golf course. There's going to be that false perception that they're fighting against each other because golf is elitist, golf costs money. So then they'll have that fight. And then you'll have a developer come in and say, well, I can give you some affordable housing and I can give you some open space. Let me develop this. Let me give it all to you.
Wow. And it doesn't have to be a golf course. It just needs, we want some open space. Councilwoman, I am so tired of being surrounded by concrete.
Yeah.
I don't think people should have to always be enshrined inside of concrete. There was a time we were able to look at the mountains from 5 points. There was a time we were able to just access, green space and open space. Can't we have some of that? Like the Honorable Wellington E. Webb said, there's plenty of places you can develop and build more housing to the east. It's not like that's the last piece of land. We've got to gaffle it up.
I mean, I think we should be protecting open space, especially right there. That corridor, I live along that corridor, and it is the most contaminated zip code in America right before you get to Colorado. That is an industrial corridor. That is a deficient tree canopy. There is a lot of vehicle pollution. And so to have open space there, especially a lot of trees, it serves as a buffer for the health impacts of the corridor itself. And so I think we should be doing whatever we can to keep open space there, to have trees there. I felt like we should have been doing a whole heck of a lot more with the I-70. We had proposed that they go around and turn that into a tree-lined boulevard because we need some buffer for the impacts of the pollution over there.
Well, I can tell you, let's move from our open space to our food. Downing Super shuts down. Does that mean that they're going to bring in the next big folks that are going to service the high-end market? Are we going to get some? What are your thoughts in terms of just accessing food? Where are we at with Downing Super?
Well, that was a frustration a couple of years ago when Albus was carrying the zoning for that grocery store that's supposed to happen down the street on the other side of Conoco. There's no grocery store that's been identified, so we don't know if that's really ever going to happen. But during that conversation or that fight, everyone who was in the neighborhood was asking, why are we not investing in Downing Super? Exactly. Why are we not helping Downing Super? Mm-hmm. They have the infrastructure. They used to be a Safeway. Why are we not investing in the legacy businesses who are already here, who can already provide this service? And they just dismissed that. There was no conversation about that. The city had neglected to figure out how to invest in that. And then you get major construction right in front of their business. Major construction that has lasted months. And so when we went in there, the owner of the grocery store is not the owner of the property. Mm-hmm. And so what he told us was that his rent just got too high, and his business was so impacted by the construction, they weren't getting enough customers.
Yes, that's happening everywhere.
That they just couldn't make it, they couldn't survive.
Well, our first wave of small business owners couldn't survive the RTD, rough, tough, and dangerous construction that came down this small thoroughfare, mm-hmm. and it drove folks away. And now, in the name of progress, the little people always get pushed aside, mm-hmm. and these costs are escalating so much. Our bakery down the street, they just decided not to renew their lease. And folks are saying, well, those were gentrified. No, they weren't. Michael's Latino. His family goes back generations. He wanted to give back and place his business in the community that he grew up in. And he wanted to push away from having a Starbucks and all those national folks. So he invested. And then I just saw the sign. We just choosing not to renew our lease.
And I mean, his neighbor had left too. His neighbor was the sushi guy.
They didn't last 3 months.
Mm-hmm. We know that the other, I don't know what they're called. It's that cafe that has the cafe or
there was the purple door down
right
the street.
Right on 28th. It's it says Cafe Yuba on the outside. It's got that mural.
Oh,
that old mural.
Oh yeah,
across
yeah,
the street.
Yeah. Tea leaves. Over down.
No, not tea
leaves.
Yeah, it's across from almost like the pizza place up from the bank.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's on the corner though. It's literally across from the pizza place.
It's like a bar or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's open at
there's
night.
There's no way they're making any money.
Yeah.
I've been in there, and there's never people in there.
Uh-huh.
But some people are subsidized. Some people can afford to sit on it and run it without making money, without making business. Mm-hmm. And so I imagine that's their situation. But they're not. The train stopped going right there.
Yeah,
they're
closed down that stop.
Yeah,
they're not making money on those streets. They're trying to charge, I think, $4,000 rent for one of those spots. I had a friend who wanted to get in there, and it's just ridiculous. It's not sustainable the way that we're building all these things. Michael Martinez, that is a tragedy to see him go. That's exactly the kind of thing that we needed there. But we're not building an economy that's sustainable here.
Well, we build a colony, and I keep telling everyone, Councilwoman, that whenever you are in an area and all of the remittances are going to a management place that sends all the money outside, you're in a colony, and the mother country is getting all of the resources, etc. Now, when you think of the 5 Points area, enter Downtown Denver Partnership. I'm like,
Lord.
Hold on. I'm at a meeting, and here's a representative from the Downtown Denver Partnership saying, we're so happy to help the small businesses down here. I'm so used to playing with the big folks. It's just so good to be around the little. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, no, that's twisted.
Urban
I don't like it at
band.
all.
Yeah, that's like they're behind the urban camping band.
Also, did you see what happened? I think today they just renamed or announced the renaming of the Central Business District. They're calling it Upper Downtown.
Yeah.
What?
Updo.
No, now it's Updo or something.
Updo.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
They always ran away from that 5 Points name because it was attached to a lower income community in New York, and this was always the suburban area. So
you just wait until it has a new name. You just wait.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm less concerned about the name than I am about the financial structure of how this all works.
Right.
So what we've learned about bids, that I didn't know before I got in here is that, you know, for example, these businesses or this development across the street, the apartments, they don't pay into the bid.
Of course.
So the commercial properties are the ones that pay into the bid. And so you have little tiny businesses like Miss Steiger's, like the liquor store. They are subsidizing the improvements for this corridor.
Of course.
For the people living in that building. Who's making money off that building? The developer of that building.
Of course.
But they're not paying into the bid in the same way, right? So it's really weird the way that these bids get set up. The small businesses carry it on their back. It makes it enticing or attractive for people to live there. So then you have the developers that build residential that don't pay into it.
Well,
And the theory is that those people are going to feed into the business. They're going to use the businesses along this corridor. But none of those people are going to Miss Steiger's or the liquor store.
Well, you know,
they come in the Black Dollar Saturday.
but you see how the game plays. You're learning a lot more from the inside. Now, what's so interesting, I want to talk to you about this budget.
Oh, God.
Now, remember we had
let's talk about the budget.
remember we had the big community gathering. We did the big party downstairs, and we had, you know, the wing ding, and Candi comes into the party with the binder. It's like, here it comes. And the reason this is important, there's a $1 billion organization called the Denver Public Schools, in which Tay Anderson,
Good job, Tay.
another Thunderbolt,
And the Project Voice alone.
a Project Voice, Chantel Lewis, Candi CdeBaca, Tay Anderson kind of reset.
Yeah.
Because wave coming out of that great institution, but they approve a budget prior to this new group coming in. They've been approving a item.
Yeah.
So what they were doing is rubber stamping.
My mind was blown.
What they were doing
You know,
is business as
they're
usual.
rubber stamping, but also, you know, they didn't understand the impact that the amendments would have on the agencies I was proposing to pull the money from.
Now hold on, because now all of a sudden here comes Candi. She shows up with the study group
Yeah.
and the binder and the let's look at this and what we discover.
They do the same thing. Like, they're not paying attention to what's really in that binder. Half the people on there, I guarantee you they didn't even look through every page. Through that, we had an entire work group going through page by page. I sat down with the CFO asking for more details. All we see is administrative, supplies and services, capital improvements, miscellaneous. For all we see all the FTEs, but we don't see how their FTE is full-time employee, and so we don't see how those are distributed. Who's making? So you have an agency like the North Denver Cornerstone Collaborative, $2.3 million budget, 12 staff, 10% of their budget into community, and the only reason they exist was to distribute dollars to community. $3 million, and only 10% of it is going to community, and the rest is funding your staff.
Because it's called the hookup.
Yep.
So the community and talk about the hookup. That is a pipeline job. So the first person who did that entity was Erica Martinez. She's in a cush job at Denver Public Library now. The second person was Michael Sapp, appointee. Third person, Jordan Sauer. Fourth person now is Anthony Aragon. So we'll see what happens to him after this, but it's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone.
Well, if you watch how they play the game, and here's the tragedy for me. You have to, and for no fault of their own. If they just had proper representation, equal distribution, appreciation, what that whole civil rights movement was about. This is what that Black freedom movement is about. That's what the Chicano movement was about. And then you get folks that come out of positions and they run the same playbook on their own people. And I'm saying black and brown. That's the tragedy of it.
Yeah.
Because they're not going in like you said, let's change the rules. They're saying, oh, now I'm in charge. Let me appoint my friends, buddies, and funders and blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, that is the tragedy of it. So when you look at this budget, you even found someone who had a money for for clothing.
Yeah, it was their department's like swag budget.
What?
Yeah, like what city agency are you looking at that uses uniforms? But if you have a uniform budget, like shirt, swag, your clothing, what is that for?
Right.
Nobody knows.
See, and when you start asking those questions,
show me what it was used on. I want to see the ledger. Show me what it's used on.
well, I could tell you the same game happened, and I could look. You come and they put this binder in front of you, and they kill a whole bunch of trees and make it look like a whole bunch of noise, and you're like, "Whoa, this is very impressive." It's basically saying, "Give me my chunk, and I'll handle it from there." You transfer over to like, which is she's a brilliant individual that I know. And then I see the minutes being produced from the Denver Public Schools, and the minutes say, we had a meeting, we had a conversation, meeting closed, and that's it. And I'm like, is that what we're doing?
That's on purpose.
It is on purpose. It's called non-transparency. I'm looking out for my funders where it's costing me $1 million or $500,000 or $250,000 to get in these positions. Budget, you got this budget in September.
Yeah.
And you're to vote on it
In, well, kind of October. So we had to have our city council group come together. We got the budget. We had a week of their presentations. Those were the worst presentations. It wasn't even all the agencies or departments. They didn't walk us through the pages that were in the binder. They were just explaining to us does and what budget expansions they were asking for. And so we got a week of that. Then we had a week to discuss amongst our team of council colleagues and write a letter to the mayor of what we wanted extra. And then the mayor responds at the end of October, says no basically to all of it, except for a couple of things, and then we vote on it.
The budget is a moral document.
Yes.
The budget tells you where their values are at.
Exactly.
Yep.
So let's just say the budget is a moral document, and they say do better as attached to unhoused neighbors. How much of the mayor's budget is going to the unhoused neighbors? 60%.
Well, the housing budget total, which includes all of that, is 1%.
Brother Jeff, but we can do better.
See that?
Yeah, our biggest budget is like, it was $588 million for public safety. It was huge. It was huge.
I can tell you that your skipping and all of that going on with your computer, it's just a testament of the service that we're receiving. It's better as other people move in. You know what I mean? And I keep telling you all about this, what's called net neutrality. I can drive and your service will drop. And you could get in certain places and your service is shaky, but you could get in other neighborhoods and other communities. It's like the Autobahn.
I still don't get food deliveries on my side of the track in Swansea. Like, you would think that was old school. I remember in the 90s that was a big deal. Like,
especially pizza.
Yeah, pizza wouldn't deliver to certain neighborhoods.
After 6 o'clock.
But now, like, there are some places we still can't even get to deliver on our side of thing. We don't have good internet over there. We don't have the highest speed available to us over there, but we will pretty soon. When they build all the new stuff, they will.
And you have to put up with the noise and the this and the all of the stuff. But with that, Candi CdeBaca is in the building. Candi, just real quick, I want to ask because you went into this budget situation, and we've got to do budget 101 because you just wanted some amendments. You wanted to say, hey, let's talk about some of these different. I saw this one thing: reject.
Yeah.
Reject. What's this process all about?
And I don't even know where to start. I think what we mentioned earlier, the lack of information that they give us, the pieces of information they bury into noise, that's a problem. Time period that they have a problem. Not giving us input on the front end, not giving workers in their department proposals, but then this part with council where we deliberate on the budget, set forth our amendments. That is like the scraps in neighborhoods, in communities amongst Black and Brown. They do that on council. And so you have this $1 billion and council members are scrapping over fighting about who's going to advance their amendments or suggestions in a letter to the mayor, hoping that we get it. That process, because they were trying to negotiate what gets in there, like which council. And I pushed the conversation of solidarity. Why wouldn't we just put there and send him the letter? And so I pushed them a little bit on that, and we little voting thing with a spreadsheet. And so we took all of the things that had enough votes and we a letter to the mayor. The mayor rejects all of them. A majority of support for them. So when I proposed my amendments, they weren't new amendments. They were what we submitted in the letter that got rejected. Had council majority support. And so it the council shot down something that they had agreed on in the letter.
Right.
And then even one of them amendment, the Office on Aging one, that was Stacey Gilmore's. And I thought it was super important. She voted against her own amendment. What the heck? It doesn't make sense. A budget that we were proposing amendments on, it was 0.0, and then we added one that was brand new on 0.05% of the budget, and so it was like imperceptible, like to anything. We compared it to salary increases. We compared it to a bunch of things. The total budget amendments would have been. And they couldn't even imagine themselves flexing the little bit of power that they have.
Well, see, that's get in positions and they're in service to the king. They're not in service to the mayor is not even the king. He's like he's a piece on the board being put. Here's my problem. If you won't stand up for your own self,
right?
Like but the hardest thing to do is to fight for folks who won't fight for themselves.
That's true.
I mean, at least like just bit.
Yeah.
Just like I mean, if you can't just I mean, you're not going to fight for your own when the Oz comes out, you're like, no. You all are voting against your own agreement.
It didn't make a lot of sense, but what I did was that people were trying to be thoughtful about what they were doing. I respect that. But if you had, as long as I had to review, you knew these amendments were proposed and rejected, initiative on all of their parts to really negotiate to fund our proposed amendments. I didn't expect everybody to just answer. I expected everybody to go back to their respective offices and put forth their ideas about where we could pull those dollars from. And when we were having an argument about where those dollars were coming from based on my proposal, it didn't make a lot of sense, because we know what we need. We know people need these things. Every single campaign dealt with it. Why wouldn't we fund what we need, no matter where those, especially if you're not even sure what that agency does? Like, if you're running this city as the legislature, that agency does, like, that's also a problem.
Well, I can tell you this. Calderon has just entered the free think zone. You know, I pay higher and higher rates, and they give me poor and poor service. But we know what that's all about. Disrupt, kind of make folks get frustrated. Information.
You know what's
You will get this information.
You know what I started recognizing in our city is we don't own anything. We don't. So there are cities that have ownership of their broadband, of their internet. Like, we don't even think about it.
Well, what has happened is they found folks that will do the bidding of the money, the cheese, the cheddar, the scratch, all of that. And so they come in, like, you've traveled to countries, local resources being extracted, while those who are surrounding those resources that make the world go round are living in dire poverty. That's what's happening in these colonies.
Yeah.
They know that they have individuals that won't demand anything, and as long as they're getting their little biscuit and molasses and they're able to have their little business card and to say a prayer at the luncheon, they are quiet. That's what happens. And I promise you see it all service. There was a time, Dr. Lisa Calderon, you will remember this. We used to utilize, before it was DCTV, it was Mile Cable.
Yes.
And you had to have these cable folks who are pimping off to give access to the community. You had to have money that they gave us, trucks, equipment, they gave us dollars to organizations, and then the city gaffles them up, turns it into and they just take the community's resources, and I guarantee you, these cable are of nothing.
No, not at all. And the sad part is they own it all. So they put us in a place like and infrastructure, the Excel street lights, the power stations. They own all of their land, vertical assets. Miss Steiger, her own vertical assets. So even if we wanted to shift, we buy it from them. We have to build it ourselves, and so we've had a future and potentially being self-sufficient. And so we're backed into this corner where we can't get away from it because the company owns everything. So they're the only ones who have the capacity provide the service.
That's what
we set it up that way. That's the exact same thing we did with the private prisons and halfway houses. They have the infrastructure to own our halfway house beds, and we were backed in a corner because nobody else owned the right land to do it, and we let it happen.
But you went to that. You said they're doing this in Geo and Aurora and A-Town, and then you saw giving them money also. You said, let's this out. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, they're losing. They're literally like heads are spinning because they don't know how to respond to it, and it's an important group of people. It's 500 people. It's 500 beds, and I don't like to talk about it as 500 people because they cycle in and out all the time, and they use that against us to make us feel like compelled to do something about 500 people. People in an entire city with a $18 million doing a lot better a long time ago, and we're also, and those are 1,500 kids minimum in a school. So that is a place we can start. That is a place we can figure. And then how do we address the entire city and build self-sufficiency with our broadband, with all of our fiber optic infrastructure, all of these, so that we're not reliant on corporations. That can be done.
Well,
people are doing it everywhere.
One way you could do it, go to Brother Jeff. Any amount.
Yes.
And I promise you, we are. Listen, everyone knows this. Folks who have financial difficulties, or what you call financial, they always pay more money than the folks who have all of the money.
Absolutely.
To just, well, Jesse Parrish.
Yes.
We just any amount. But I'm saying we often have to receive, and that is just a fact. And what I want you all to do is to know that we will continue building capacity. You know, even if we have to move Wakanda, we get going. And as it relates to small business, Candi, you got to hit them with the
Chubby curls. Oh shoot, I don't remember. I haven't been a long time.
You got to make it up. You got to put yours.
Hair is not straight. I really do use chubby curls. I love chubby curls because it really, really works.
Boom! Calm.
I need to get this part. I don't
Now,
have this part.
I love it, but okay, so let's keep talking. As this budget, City Council, are you learning that this is really a mayoral strong city, to where folks are mainly in service to that mayor or any mayor that is in that city? When she was running, she was like, we want to make sure that we move to get an elected sheriff. Now we're working to maybe try to decentralize or working to decentralize power. You want to do a budget reform committee.
Yeah, I want us to do completely different. We are a heavy mayoral control city, but the mayor doesn't know what he's doing. He's not the one in control. Right. This is a corporation reliant city. We're just the mayor and doesn't even know it, because if he had known it, you know, he would have, like, he could have leveraged his role to, he could have leveraged that space to do more for the long of the city. Failed to do that. It's because you can have a colony. Like, we've always been this way. From the gold rush to like to the green rush. Like, this is the type of city we've built. Gas and oil. Like, it's all about that. You know, our bust and booms are directly connected to corporations and like what's trendy in the market.
Council, because the mayor brings forth a budget to be approved, and it's not like he said no, 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 as opposed to the council saying no, no, no. Like, why even bring it to the council if you got, like, is that like?
Yeah, I mean, we could have had veto-proof amendments. Like, if 9 people had stood behind the amendments that we wanted, he can't veto. Like, we have the supermajority, and so we need a council that feels empowered enough to stand and push back
And work on behalf of the people who have sent them to office, as opposed to. You had a letter, and I want to see if this is hyperbole, or if I made this up, or if I read it wrong, or if this is right. Waste, inequity, lack of leadership. Is that how you define that? Waste.
Pretty simple.
Inequity, obliviousness, lack of strategy, lack of leadership.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's the most simple.
Barbara Groves Jones says there's a lot of backroom deals that take place.
Yeah, it's all backroom. It's all backroom. even doubt that there were backroom conversations with colleagues on the amendments.
Wow. Well, you know, politics, everyone who knows anything about a chair never goes in front of a group without knowing what the outcome of a vote is. They already know. If you look at Washington and everything that's about to go to a vote, to do healthcare or not, it always says we're not going to have this meeting if because they start counting. You just go around that table, you see how many you need. I know Chris Herndon's going to vote with me 1,000% every single time. This one, and now that you've got Candi and you've got Chris Hines and you've got some others, I don't know the others as much or as well, but there's some of this that's taking place. But prior to that, it was always yes, yes, yep, hell yeah, right on. Woo!
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly
Business
what it
as
is.
usual.
If Kendra and you know exactly who they're cutting a deal for.
Oh,
like,
yes.
If they vote yes on something, absolutely going to be no.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I am. That's how I knew that. That's how I knew the school board. That's how I knew. Because you've got to be very strategic. You've got to do things. And when I saw Alexis do that, I'm proud to have that Hancock endorsement. Call the team in. Call the team.
Yeah.
This is a wrap.
Yeah.
Man, they just punted 90-yard field goal. He said, "I support." Boom, touchdown. It was. You know, when Hancock talks, he's talking for money, and when he talks about social issues, he's invisible. And this budget says that neighbor situation, and 1% of that conversation is put in that moral document, and all you wanted was some porta potty.
Trash receptacles, a porta potty, like
No.
that his
Family
like
Labor Day was
high-priced new wealthy neighbors were like slap them in the face, slap us in the face. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, he was on his way out. I mean, he skirted one in the same way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Do
scary.
we gotta? No. Omar's gonna win. And let me tell you why I know Omar has got this election in the bag. People, there is no way in the world that the most diverse nation, one of the most diverse cities in the nation, and certainly in Colorado, to get Kaufman, who was a Trump lookalike Republican. You telling me that's who A-Town voted in? Omar gonna catch him. You got thousands of votes out there. I know what CP time is about.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I know them. I know it.
Said if
I
we're
know
just
it.
even
I'm
like
sorry.
one point ahead or a % ahead when 7 o'clock hits, we'll win because our people vote late, which we need to change, but we vote late.
Well, you know, we had some other stuff to do. If our internet was working,
Yeah.
you know, if they didn't close the bus stop,
Right.
you know what I mean? In the stop this stop over here and send it around and down. I'm like, this way over there,
Yeah.
you know, had they just went ahead and had an equal.
Yeah, and didn't they have a whole snafu with their ballots?
40 of them.
Yeah, like those are the kind of things that mistake. Was it a mistake?
Well, there's no mistake. If they're being this careful about counting those votes now that it's 2 days after the that careful about before they put out the incorrect ballots.
Right.
Exactly.
So, but there is a divide in the city, and I think that it's shows who you're with, where you're with. Everything is a moral document. With the money, if that's what it is for you, just we could see it. If it's something else, we could bring things together. And is there a way for ordinary people to participate in the Mile High Income City?
I think that there is a way to bring us together. Information it should be at the top and talking about bringing us together, because most of the time our are about inaccurate perceptions and understanding of what is available. We fight against each other to fight for scraps as a distraction. Power. We're taught to strike sideways to than striking upward. And that is what keeps us busy. Dogs, they put us in the ring to kill each other while they go on about their things to orchestrate, the show. They're the puppet doing all of that while we're over here being divided. And so we can put in front of people to understand the power structure. I think the more opportunity for us to fight the power structure together relies on the divisions. And so anybody who wants the divisions to go away, we want to recognize so that we can stand in solidarity. Who are planted to be divisive. We have to learn how to identify them and then in their place when they're trying to antagonize.
The things that we're seeing is ordinary people are rising up and they're making their way to the ballot box. Out. So it's always good to hang out with the great Candi CdeBaca. Fighting for the people. Fighting and I know you agree with me on this when we want to send a shout out to the ordinary the trenches to make this city work, even though that they're being sometimes exploited. They don't know how, the rules are. They're folks and then they're doing all the work and there's not equal distribution. So shout out to
especially our city workers. Our found is so many hardworking, dedicated who want to do right, but are also kept in their. They're reporting to an appointee. There's not a lot of protections for a lot of equity in our departments. And even our city workers are made to feel like we're fighting. We have a lot of them who recognize that, who have been told not to come to offices, and they recognize why. They recognize trying to build power amongst them and amongst communities. My whole entire heart goes to trapped in those situations and really just want to do good for the city.
When you have crony capitalism, then that means ordinary people who are in the workforce that have great ideas every day that can know how to save an extra resource, make something. They put their heads down and they just wait for their retirement. And I know that are just like, Brother Jeff, I'm 3 more months.
Biting my
time. I'm just working my way through, but I'm telling you, in the alleyways, which are now, my alleys used to be dirt. I'm feeling all new, but all the other folks can't afford to be guys picking up the trash with the machine. I'm like, hold up a second. Come on, let's get it.
Wait a minute, hold up. I thought she was in Telluride.
That's my other house. Like, just seeing folks, just workers that are saying, I want to make life better by what it is that I'm doing. When you paved, on them snowy days, or you see that trash is collected, planet, you see all of the great work that is being done. I appreciate the workers. And
we want the workers to know that them too. We've had a lot of people come from different agencies asking us how to investigate their agency, how to investigate the problems that are going on in their respective agencies. Has ever taken them seriously. HR doesn't work for them. HR works to. And so we welcome who want to change the city, who want to work and serve the city. We want their side. We are here to create for them to live and work in the same city.
Well,
so many of them can't even afford to live in the
city. You drive and you fly in. You move into a colony.
If we can get an investigation on these racist walls of the
well, let me Frank, I get you. Frank, you always chime in. I appreciate your fight. Yes, we can. Yes, we do. And we've set you up in positions to talk to some black and brown leadership, and you said, no, I want to do it that way. So yeah, keep shining the light on it. The answer is yes. Let's make it happen. Right on, Frank. Don't come sideways. Come straight up. You know, I'm straight up. Don't come sideways. Candi CdeBaca, can we have representation for little people or inclusiveness, equity? Yes, 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 and yes.
We're working with, like, we know all that corruption is there. We know it's there, but we also have to go through the same channels to figure out how to do something with the information when we have it. And we're fighting the same structure. We're not part of that structure. We're that's trying to really figure out how do we use this platform and this information and then do something with it. Well,
you all go back and make sure you run it again, because you'll be able to see it all through the day. For all that you're seeing. Okay, so with that being said, can I just say something real quick? I don't want you to. This is me.
Okay.
Because I don't like folks to take advantage of folks to do the people's work. Now,
let's talk.
Why don't you tell the folks about the Hiawatha Davis Senior Luncheon, and then some commentary.
Okay. Well, first I'm gonna put in a plug. So tell the seniors in your life in the area that we have the 37th Senior Luncheon happening on December 13th at 11 at Tree Hotel on 32nd in Quebec, and it's free. It has historically been free. Now let me explain the problem and where I need your help. So this happens in part. Hill used to be part of the District 8. This District 9 used to be District 8. Districted, the council person decided to continue this event for community, because even though seniors were living in Park Hill, there was an allegiance. So what the council person did, the event and had some of the outside districts, Chris Herndon's district and Stacy Gilmore's district, his office, devote some dollars to the event. The event cost about $3,000 to get the space. It costs $1,000 for the food and all of the other things, and then volunteer staff. That needed to be paid for. They paid their part. They paid their share. That was every single year without fail. Well, this year, there's no money in their budgets to devote to the seniors. So District 9 is taking this on because, one, we're been showing up to this for years.
Yeah.
Community, we respect them. We do everything we do for and so we see this as a responsibility. Wish that we had council colleagues who their responsibility as well. But since we don't, we need to turn to make sure that we're taking care of our seniors. And so we need support. If you donate, if you can donate, we need support to put this on and to keep it going. There are between 400 and 600 seniors and it is a free meal. It is completely free. And we just honor their contributions and their existence. So we need how you can call our office. We'll get you on the volunteer list. If you've got a senior, our office, the number is 720-337-779. And if you want to send your RSVP via email or send us some information, send it to district9@denvergov.org.
Okay.
Liz just shared.
There's a link.
Councilwoman Kanich's office has also contributed as well.
Councilwoman Kanish. Said, I know you've got to get going. I appreciate your time. If those of you who have suffered broadcast, we're going to reload this up so that you can watch it. Way, don't worry about that. But I want to just put a little commentary. This is Brother Candi CdeBaca, our wonderful councilwoman. Davis was twin spirits in terms of fighting for ordinary people. This is the 37th annual Hiawatha Davis. Hiawatha Davis was the councilman of District 8. Councilwoman CdeBaca is the district, she's the congressman of District 9.
Yep.
Chris is District 8. So here's what I'm saying. Councilman, we know that you are a yes on everything development. We know that you're a yes on the Ku Klux Klan name of Stapleton. We know that you say you don't discrimination. We know that you are in some kind of la-la world that you live in. That sunken place.
Yeah, in the sunken place.
And we know that you are not from doing the nativist thing right now, but we're saying that there are traditions. You are the councilman of District 8. This should be your responsibility. This is even happening in your district, in District 9.
No.
This is in District 8.
Right.
And what you're doing is you are trying to pimp off of our councilwoman by saying, you raise the money, you do it, I don't have a budget, but I was a District 8 councilman. So, that being said, we will help you. We will do everything to make sure this happens, but and some of them white women that you have hired in your county to come out here and help some black folks. Come out here and help some seniors. Individuals that have done this for 37 years. If not, we try and run for something else. Why don't you run back to Kansas? Why don't you run back? We have some traditions that are right here. Do something to help black and poor folks. I know the Stapleton neighbors got your back. They love the Ku Klux Klan. I'm talking about the ones that had an opportunity to vote because they would have voted to change the name. You sat upon a racist, inequitable system where people could vote who only own property. That's you, Chris Herndon.
Yep.
The District 8 councilman. You give us a call right now and tell us that and we're helping you to make sure that this tradition takes place. And we will also focus on King Trimble because King Trimble building's over. We'll handle that. And to add to your plate, that councilwoman, Carla Madison. Social, get that going over there in City Park. So in other words, represent these special interests. Councilman Chris Herndon, Hiawatha Davis was district. Got no money. We don't care if you don't have any money. Go in that back pocket where they're sticking pocket with these development dollars and use some of that for the people. Councilman.
Yeah.
That being said.
You who do care about honoring our legacy, and you're not a senior, District 9 is launching a campaign called Eastside Forever. Off that campaign with in partnership with Black Dollar office right in the 5 Points DMV. Bring your table, but we're also unveiling a mural to the Black YMCA, which is now the Glenarm Rec Center. We would love for you to see it. We think everybody's going to love it. It is absolutely our past and really connecting the future to that legacy that our POC community has.
All right. Well, with that being said, I know you've got
1
1,000
o'clock.
more meetings. You've got some
1
more
o'clock.
things. Go ahead and sign off. Jesse Parrish, thank you. Black Spice, Lathan, everybody. All the road, Candi CdeBaca. We just got to remind you, if you go down. Might score a knockout. Councilman Christopher Herndon, Hiawatha Davis was councilman. I want you to remind you about that.
Honor
Humble
your
young man and
elders.
woman. And honor your elders.
There's no new
Right.
election.